everyone, I'm Allie Buckman with the Potomac Bead Company, and I'm going to be playing with some of the newer products today, making these awesome disc style earrings. They were actually designed by one of our customers, Rene, featuring our DiscDuo bead, which if you haven't used them yet, the DiscDuo is a 2-hold disc shape that we sell in tubes, and you can purchase them, make a bunch of earrings. You can also search on this page the little magnifying glass. If you're on the Potomac Bead Company YouTube homepage, you can search for the DiscDuos and see other projects that we've made with them. In addition to the DiscDuo, we're going to be using some MiniDuos, which are the smaller version of the SuperDuo bead. For the earring itself, we're going to be using one DiscDuo in the middle. So I have 2 out here because I'm going to make a match to this one. And we're also going to be using, like I said, the MiniDuo beads. If you need any of these beads or any of the supplies, you can check the little links here to the left or right below the video here in the dialog box. In the details, you can hit show more, and that'll give you links to either print out the list that you need to take to your local Potomac Bead Company or to shop with us online at PotomacBeads.com. For this, again, you're going to be using the DiscDuos, and you're just going to be using 2 of them for each set. For the MiniDuos, you're going to need 60 of the bronze color. We're going to be using 3 colors of this. I did the bronze here. And then in the inner area, right around the DiscDuo, you're going to be using 24 total, so 12 on each earring, of the tanzanite color. And then the pastel bordeaux, which is just at the top and the bottom, I'm using 6 per earring, so 24 altogether, or I'm sorry, 12 altogether of those. The 11Os on the side are the violet gold luster color, and you use 24 per earring, so altogether you're just going to need 48 of those beads. You can do it differently at the top. You can make this into a pendant if you wanted to keep going and go a little bit larger. That's up to you, but I did make mine into earrings since that was Rene's original design. And I changed it up just a little bit by adding a wire protector and going onto the ear wire with that wire protector. That's going to help to kind of keep it all together and to make it flow really nicely there at the top. In addition to my beads, I have my Wildfire cord cutter, which is a thread burner handy. I'm working with a size 10 needle, and this is the pony style English beading needle. And I have some .006 black Wildfire beading thread. When I originally cut my piece, I cut enough to make both earrings, so I cut right about 4 feet and used 2 feet for one earring, and then I'm going to use 2 feet, about 24 inches, for the other earring. I'm working on a bead mat, and handy to string my thread onto my needle, I have my needle nose pliers here, or a wide jaw flat nose, whichever you want to use. It helps to flatten out that end. We're going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to pour out little piles of my beads. I want 30 of my bronze, that jet bronze color, the MiniDuo. I want 12 of the tanzanite on my mat, and then I want 6 of that pastel bordeaux, as well as my 1 DiscDuo bead. That's going to be to make my other set of earrings. And I have my seed beads that I'm just going to dump out a bunch rather than counting out the 24. To get started on my project, I've used a stop bead. I just had a silver 15-0 sitting here on my bead mat. I've used one of those stop beads to hold the beads in place as I'm getting to the middle of that disc dial. So what I'm going to do is to create the stop bead, put the 15-0 on your 2 feet of thread and take the needle 2 times away from the 1-inch tail in order to stop the beads from falling off the end. This bead eventually is going to come off, so it doesn't really matter what you use. I tend to use something that's not included in my project. That way I make sure that I do take it off and I don't sew back through it by accident. This is going to start in the middle by taking my needle and thread and picking up the DiscDuo and letting it drop down next to my seed bead. If you have a DiscDuo that has 2 sides to it or 2 different finishes, say a slipperit or a capri, you want to keep track of which side you're working on if you do want a certain pattern and design. You don't have to use the exact same pattern as I've done here. You can play up. I have another earring here that I was working on that I was playing with the design and the pattern. So you can switch it up. You could do it all in one color, but the design I'm just going to stick with to show you guys how to do the pattern is the one that I've matched here to the other earring. Altogether, you're just going to use 96 of your SuperDuos, so or of your MiniDuos. If you want to have those handy, you can do whatever pattern and design you want. Once I have that DiscDuo on, I'm going to put 2 of my tanzanite beads onto my needle. I'm then going to take my needle and thread from the first hole of the DiscDuo up the side to the second hole, coming out on the side as the same side as my stop bead there. When I get to that same side, I'm going to put on 2 more beads and go back right next to that stop bead and come back towards the original side. That's going to put 2 seed beads on either side of the holes of the DiscDuo. When I'm out the edges here, I'm going to add 4 of my minis in tanzanite and go back through that DiscDuo right there on the side. What that's going to do is throw those 4 beads right at the base, right around that DiscDuo. To get 4 more on the top to complete my inner circle, I'm going to go back through those original 2 that I added and back through my DiscDuo, coming out on the other side. Basically, I'm just circling around that DiscDuo. I have 4 more tanzanite beads left, and that's why it's nice to pre-count them, because then you know that you've used them all. And I'm going to take my thread and needle coming out of one side of the top hole of my DiscDuo and go into the other side of that same top hole. That's going to put these last 4 beads in that tanzanite color right on the side. When you sit this down, it looks a little bit sun-like in shape or flower-like, and we're going to be going from the bottom hole of the MiniDuos, which we've caught, and we're going to be going to the top hole. Before we do that, you can see that it's sitting a little bit off, that the ones that we added in groups of 2 are going to be a little bit more V'd. What I want to do to secure the project and to get rid of that stop bead is I'm going to sew through the bottom hole of all the DiscDuos, or all the MiniDuos, sorry, going the whole way around the circle. When you get next to your stop bead, you can take that bead off, pull it out of the way, and actually tie those 2 threads together. And then you can get rid of that stop bead, which is kind of nice. You can do that nice and early on. Because it's an earring, it doesn't have that much tension right on the project. It's up to you whether or not you want to glue that area. If you are gluing, you want to keep that till the end, just in case you would have to come back on your project. I'm just going to take my thread burner and burn off and burn down, so I have a little bit of a tail left that I'll catch later. I'm then going to continue around in my circle, going through all of that first hole of my beads. You may need to do this just little by little, because the beads do have a curve to them around that DiscDuo. Once we get the whole way around, we're going to go from the bottom hole to the top hole, and we get to add some more color. So I'm going to continue sewing the whole way around here, catching all those beads just to make it sit nicely, and linking those sides where there were 4 to the sides where there were 2. Once I'm the whole way around that circle, again, I'm going to go from the bottom hole of that DiscDuo, or I'm sorry, the bottom hole of that MiniDuo, and go to the top hole of that same MiniDuo. So I'm coming out of the mini on the bottom hole, and I'm going to go in the top hole in the opposite direction and just through 1 bead. That's going to be how I step up to do my next row. When I'm looking at my beads here, that's going to be how I step up to add that next row of color. Our next time around, we're going to be adding 1 bead in between each of the existing MiniDuos. The pattern that we're going to be adding it to get the same pattern as my earring is we're going to add 1 of our Bordeaux, 5 bronze, 1 Bordeaux, 5 bronze. If you want to, you can lay those out ahead of time so you don't have to think about it too much as you're sewing around. I'm going to pick up my first bead, which is my Bordeaux, sew through the next empty hole in the next MiniDuo in line. So I'm catching all those empty holes, which is the second hole. And after I do my 1 Bordeaux, I'm going to put in those 5 bronze beads. So I'm adding 12 beads in this row, just like we did in the original. As I sew those around, once I add the 5 bronze, I know that it's time to add my Bordeaux bead again. After I have that Bordeaux bead, I'm going to sew 5 more of the bronze beads into place, and it's just pick up a bead, sew through the next mini from the first row, that tanzanite bead, and I'm picking up the second hole of that bead. Once you go the whole way and add all of those bronze, we get to do that step up again. To step up, we're going to go through that last tanzanite bead where the thread was coming out of, and also through that first bead that we added, which would be that Bordeaux color, going through the first hole of that Bordeaux bead. Once we're on the side of that Bordeaux bead, we're going to switch our thread, so we're coming back in the opposite direction, going from the bottom hole to the top empty hole, and the thread is going to come back the opposite way. That's going to expose a little bit of thread on the side of that Bordeaux bead, but you won't see it as you're working with it because we're going to go around one more time. This time around, we're going to do almost a herringbone style, and we're going to be adding 2 beads in between each of our mini duos from the second row. So we have our DiscDuo, then we have our first row of 12, we have our second row of 12, and now we're going to add a third row of 24 beads. To add those beads and to get my pattern, when I'm coming out of my Bordeaux bead, the first thing in my pattern is going to be to add a Bordeaux and a bronze bead. And then I'm going to sew through the open hole of the next bronze bead from row 2. I'm going to continue around adding 2 bronze until I get right back to the Bordeaux at the top of the pendant. And again, adding 2 beads at a time and sewing through the second hole of the mini duo from the previous row, which is row 2. As I get back to my Bordeaux bead, I'm going to add a bronze and then a Bordeaux and go through that Bordeaux bead. Once I'm on the other side, to get that nice little V pattern, I add a Bordeaux and a bronze. Left on my bead mat, then you'll notice I still have 1 more Bordeaux. That's going to go right next to the original bead that we started with. I'm going to continue on adding the bronze beads into place. And once we have those, then we get to do the outer edge. So it's a very quick set of earrings. Like I said, you can keep going and make it a pendant if you want. As I come around to the start, then I'm going to add that bronze bead and a Bordeaux bead. So back through the original Bordeaux bead from row 2, and so back through the first Bordeaux bead in row 3. When I'm coming out there, I get to do my step up again. So to do my step up, I go from the bottom hole of the mini duo that my thread is coming out of to the top hole in the opposite direction. Again, remember, a little bit of thread is going to be exposed. When I'm here at the top of my earring, I'm going to go ahead and add my wire protector. The wire protector goes on that it has a U shape or a horseshoe shape to it. It's a hard one to say. I'm going through the first little tube portion, and then it has an arch in it that my thread sits upon, and I'm going to come down the arch on the other side. If you want to and you don't have wire protectors, you can also just do a little seed bead loop there at the top, or you can use a jump ring after the fact of making. I'm then going to skip from that first Bordeaux bead to that second Bordeaux bead. The wire protector will then just kind of sit right in between there. If you want to, you can even take your pliers and you can pinch that closed a little bit, and that'll close up that wire protector and make it a little bit more teardrop shaped rather than a little bit more oval. Give a little pull, and we'll reinforce that as we come back around. Now it's really easy. After adding that, we go the whole way around, adding our 11 O's in place, picking up the missing empty hole of the third row of our minis. So you just add an 11, sew through the second hole of the MiniDuo, going the whole way around, adding this pretty violet gold luster color. So I'm going to sew the whole way around, adding those beads in place, and then when we get back to here, I'll show you how we reinforce and just decorate the top a little bit with one more seed bead. Once I have my last seed bead that I'm going to sew in place in between that empty hole, I add my bead, and I'm going through that Bordeaux seed bead. I'm going to reinforce the thread where the wire protector is, going back up through the protector. Some people will call it a wire guardian, some people will call it a wire protector. So I'm going back up through that wire guard, going into that little horseshoe shaped area, into that other side of that channel and coming down towards the beads. Making sure that the thread is sitting in that channel. What I'm going to do then is I go through my MiniDuo in the Bordeaux color, come down that MiniDuo, so going from the top outermost hole to the bottom hole. When I come out the bottom hole, that's when I'm going to add my last little seed bead and go through the bottom hole of the next Bordeaux from that third row. And that just decorates that top right there and fills in that little gap. Lastly, I'm just going to go in and knot off my project by picking up one of the bridge threads, the thread right after I came out. So I'm sewing underneath the thread that's going from the Bordeaux to the first bronze bead. I made a loop. I'm going to take my needle in through that loop once and twice, and then give a nice tight pull. Again, if you want to, you can glue, but you don't have to. I'm just going to go in with my thread burner. I'm going to leave a little bit of space before I burn, because I don't want to get it super close, because what I'm going to do is actually burn down this edge there. You can see it a little bit more there. I'm going to burn down this edge to create a balling effect, so that way the thread will not be able to fit through any of my beads. Once I have that burned down, I'll go back to that starter thread. If I can find it, there it is. I'm going to burn that down as well. Again, I'm letting that ball up because it works with my colors. Once you're done, you have a really easy last step. All you're going to do is open your ear wire, and I have a surgical steel ear wire because it matches really well to my gunmetal wire guard. I'm going to twist that opening to the side, add that wire guard right in there, and then close it up. And there you have the ending then of those disc dial earrings. You can really have fun with this, make a bracelet, you can make a necklace and connect them all. This one here, I went back into the start and actually decorated the first row there with some seed beads. So I can make another earring like that. Like I said, you really could kind of go to town. They're very quick and simple. They're a great gift if you need to make a gift for someone for the holidays or for birthdays. They're a nice, simple, yet intricate looking earring that doesn't take many materials or much time at all. So if you need any of these materials, again, you can go back to the beginning of this video, or you can go down to the details right underneath the video, click the show more button and get all the materials that you need there. You can also purchase from our Potomac Bead Company stores. Visit PotomacBeads.com, check out our locations page, and see if you're going to be traveling near one of our locations or if you happen to live near one of them already. You can also shop online with me at PotomacBeads.com for any of these great products, including the MiniDuos and these awesome Potomac Bead Company exclusive DiscDuo beads. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone, and stay connected with us via Facebook, as well as subscribe to our channel to get awesome video updates like this and new product information as well. Happy beading, everyone.